Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. Last episode, we redid this port area to have a much larger, much more efficient truck station, and we also added a bunch more details to make it fit with the amount of resources and size that it needs. And in this video, we're going to shift away from cargo transport and come back to our passenger transport, where we're going to set up a line that runs from our main hub station here all the way over to the city of Birmingham. Now, this is probably going to be one of the most difficult lines that we make, just due to the elevation difference between Birmingham and pretty much any other city on the map at the moment. This hill that sort of ramps up to Birmingham is pretty steep, so it's going to be hard to get just a straight connection right into Birmingham. And I want to make it look good. I don't want to just have a massive bridge that sort of starts all the way down here in this flat area and makes its way up to Birmingham. So this is definitely going to be an interesting challenge for us to solve, and once we're done, we will have yet another passenger connection to a new city on the map. So after thinking for a little bit about how we want to get this line from this station to Birmingham, I think what we're going to do is branch off pretty early from our main line here and come across pretty much right next to this current bridge, and then we'll bring it up the hillside here, where then we'll bridge over the river gap, where hopefully by then we'll be pretty much almost at the same elevation as Birmingham, where we hopefully won't run into many issues with our train's speed going up steep hills. So another reason that we're going to be bringing it across this way first instead of bringing it over more towards Santa Clarita is, I think once later in the future, somewhere over here, we'll have this line branch out and then loop around and connect over to Modesto, since crossing this huge bay with a train track isn't realistic, really. So if we come around sort of the long way around the bay off of the line that goes over to Birmingham, that should set up a nice sort of spoke off of our train line in the future. So let's begin preparing the area where we're going to branch off, and we have quite a few road connections in this area, and if we had another set of tracks, I think it'll turn this area into quite a real mess. So let's work on simplifying all this first. I don't think any of these roads are currently being used, so we can pretty much delete all these as far back as we want. Alright, so now that we have this area pretty much cleared out, I think we're also going to delete this bridge, because I kind of want to match the elevation on this side so that we don't have a very steep inclined bridge going across the river. So we'll end up sloping the sort of point that's here, and that'll be where our train and our road end up connecting over on this side. So let's start doing that. We'll just quickly drag this all up, and then we'll come back through later and smooth it all out, level it out, whatever we need to do. And we'll try to keep the footprint the same as we come through and do this. Now we'll flatten out a nice area, get sort of a interesting cliff face along there, lightly smooth out some of the edges, and we'll come back and make this look nicer later on. But I think now we can pretty much just come in and smooth the whole thing out so we get a nice gentle slope all the way up to the top there. Alright, so first let's see if we can get this road back in here, and if we look, we can sort of see where it was before. So let's see if we can just simply drag this over, and we can see that's actually pretty flat, which is pretty much exactly what we want. We'll upgrade it to these steel bridges, as those will provide higher top speed, and it'll probably end up matching what we do for the rails. So while we're here, let's just also do that as well. So we'll try to get this pretty much parallel with the road, and I think this keeps the same distance all the way through. It's a little hard to tell, but let's just roll with that. And then we'll just drag a second set of tracks right next to it, like so. And I think that's pretty much what we're gonna leave this at. It's a little unfortunate the pillars didn't really line up on the bridge there. But coming into our info layer for navigable waters, there is a few spots where our boats can still get through. I might mess around with this real quick and see if we can get something a little neater, but I am okay with maybe leaving this how it is if we can't get it any better. So I think this might really be what we are left off with. If we come in here, we got it a little better. We have some larger gaps near sort of the middle of the bridge, but I think we'll leave that how it is, and we can now begin to make our connections. So firstly, I want all of our train connections to be made first before we do anything else. We'll make sure we have a nice long curve for these tracks to connect up with. We'll do one there, and then connect up to the other track. If we can get it to snap how we want, we can build that just like so. And now we can start to connect up our roads. So first, all the way back here, we have this connection to the industry. And this one's going to be tough because we have our intersection here. And I'd like to avoid having a road crossing if possible. So maybe we'll do something like that. We'll curve it. And then maybe we can get a bridge. We might have to get a little bit closer. But if we can get this to look somewhat decent and still pop over, I'm not a big fan of that. So if we do a bridge like this, it's not too terrible. You can see we do get a decent amount of clearance here with the trains, and that might be the best that we can do for now. So we'll leave that. And I think we might delete a little bit of this road so we can get a smoother connection between the bridge and the rest of the road. So that's a lot smoother, a lot less steep. Looks a lot more natural. The other side over here is a little bit weird, so we'll do the same thing. Pull it back a little bit and then just connect it straight up to our existing roads. So now, next let's connect up this road to our bridge over this way. And maybe we can get it to come off just a little bit better. I think maybe like that. And then if we do that, that's not terrible either. The only issue we now have is connecting this road to this road. So let's come back and maybe pull this back all the way to the intersection. And I'm not too sure if I want to build a tunnel or a bridge over this. Since we already have a bridge over here, maybe a tunnel wouldn't be too bad. If we just sort of do something like that, and then come around sort of underground and slowly start to come up. We can then have it just intersect right about here. It's not the prettiest connection. I really am not the biggest fan of it, but I think we'll leave it for now until we think of maybe a better solution in the future, or if maybe we think if we can change this road or make a connection somewhere else, we might do that. But we do have all the connections that we previously had, so I'm fine with leaving it like this. Maybe one last thing is coming off of here somewhere, and then just connecting over to this road so that cars coming from over here don't have to come all the way over underground and then back up this way. So I think I'm okay with this. We'll come in, fill in some of these spots where the roads used to be so it still looks natural, and then we'll move on to the other side of the bridge. Alright, so now we have the other side of the bridge where I think we're going to have to bring our tracks down a little bit before we can start working our way back up towards Birmingham. So first let's grab this, and we'll try to keep it at a reasonable height. And I think we'll just use this fill and then come back and use the terrain tools later. Now, we don't want it too steep, so I think we'll come down sort of at this angle. We'll do the same thing over here. So now we have our tracks extended where we can now begin to think how we want to connect up the roads over here. And so the first one I think is pretty straightforward. We'll just bring this over and connect it like so. That is a bit of a steep hill, so let's pull that back just a little bit more, and then maybe just slightly raise that up and smooth it out, and see what kind of connection we can get now. So that's a lot less steep. So we'll make that connection, and over here we get an interesting opportunity for a tunnel, and I'm not too sure how I feel about this. I think maybe if we can bring the terrain up on this side, get that tunnel to go a little bit longer, that might be interesting. So if we do something more along the lines of this, I think that'll give us something interesting. So now let's just smooth out the terrain, and we should be good to just continue with these tracks. So I think we'll leave this how it is. I think in the end we'll come back and add in some trees and maybe some rocks along here to make it look a little more natural, sort of like what we did over here with the lighthouse, where we have all these rocks on the very steep edge of it. So we'll come back and clean this area up once we finish this line, but now we can continue to move on and think about where we're going to bridge over this river. Alright, so we're now at the point where we're ready to bridge over this river, and I think right here gives us a pretty decent jumping off point to either land down here or maybe on the next level up. We'll have to see once we drag this across here. And it looks like if we go with the upper level we get a slight incline over the bridge, and if we go on the lower one it's pretty flat, and I'm not too sure what we want to go with. Maybe we can see if we can get this bridge to snap straight, which I think is right about here. We can see that the bridge does sort of bow a little bit, and maybe if we play around here, maybe we can get this to be a little more flat, but it doesn't really seem like it. So I'm kind of okay with this bridge. I think it is a long bridge, and it's not terribly ugly. I'd like to maybe get nicer looking bridges in the future, but I think I'm willing to deal with this for now. It doesn't look too bad, and we keep it pretty level. I don't want to go the next one up just because I think it's weird if there's a very steep incline over a bridge, and this bridge already has a little bit of a slope to it, so we'll leave that as is, and hopefully a very basic measure. Let's see if we can just make it all the way up to where Birmingham is. So it does seem like we can make it up here. I think our passenger station will have to end up being sort of out this way, which is fine. That just gives us more room to extend upward. So let's maybe set that up in Birmingham a while. So let's grab maybe a medium street. Actually, maybe let's just go with this, medium street. And we'll come straight across here. Try to get this to line up as good as possible, sort of with the 90-degree grid that's going on. Actually, first let's maybe extend this out. And then from this corner, we'll do something like that. And then we'll come in, select our passenger station, go 240 meters, 2 tracks, and we'll line this up right along this road. Alright, so I think I'm okay with where this is placed. We'll do that, and then we can begin to think about how we're going to get this track up here and connected to that station. So if we do sort of the easy way of getting it up here and just connecting to the station piece, we get a track that's not too terrible. And I actually don't mind this too much. I don't think there's really a better way to do this. It does kind of stink that we're underground for so long, but we just can't slope up as steep as the terrain is. Maybe we can come around the long way around this mountain and then bridge through it quickly and pop up. So let's explore that option real quick. So it doesn't seem like we'll get too much better results doing it this way. We just simply can't keep up with the steepness of the hill here, so I think we'll just drag this into the platform and roll with that. Maybe we'll redesign this if maybe things grow in the future, or we get something better, or if we think of a better way to get over to the city, but for now I'm okay with just doing it how it is. And we'll delete this little bridge section and turn that actually just into some land. And then we'll just bring this back around and connect it back up to our track. Alright, so let's get in our little cross section. And then all we should have to do is put in signals and get a train running. Alright, so we have our signals placed. Now let's head over to our train depot all the way over here. And let's build our train. Alright, so let's roll with this train for now. It's the Russian Class S, which is our fastest steam train at the moment. And 4 of these heavyweight parlor cars. And it should be okay on flat slopes, but medium and high speed get a little weird, so we'll just run one of these trains for now and see how that goes. And then if we need to, we will redesign it and find a better train that fits our needs. So we'll set this line to run from Jackson all the way up to Birmingham. And if we come down here, it looks like it does come into the one platform here in Jackson, which is what we want. And all we have to do now is just keep an eye on the train and make sure it can handle what we want it to. So here we can watch it leave the train depot and get onto its route. This is probably the first train we have running out of this way with our redesigned train depot. So it's pretty cool to see this. Gives it a little bit of life in the area, but only whenever we make new trains. So this train is pretty much able to stay at top speed pretty much all the way from where this bridge is all the way up until it reaches this last turn. going up to Birmingham. Now that is with empty cars. It might change with full cars, but I'm pretty happy with how it performed. The rest of the way we don't have to worry because from Birmingham to Jackson is pretty much all downhill. So let's clone these and we'll get 2 more trains running on this line. And then all we have to do lastly is connect up this train station to the city of Birmingham with a few bus stations. So let's grab our bus stops. We'll place one right in front of the train station. We'll get one over on this side of the city, another one up this way, and then another one all the way over here. Now we just need a road depot for this city, which we'll place right about here at the end of this road. And once we line it up, we should be good to just plop it down and get some buses running. So let's grab 6 of these buses and we'll just have them running on a loop around the city of Birmingham. So now while we let those trains start to build up demand on that line, let's come back over here and clean up this area and make it look a little nicer like we mentioned before. So let's come in here and grab some rocks. And we'll get some pretty big rocks placed and spaced around here. We'll rotate these in odd different directions and sort of think about what we think looks best in this area. Alright, so I think this is how we're going to leave this area. We added some rocks under the bridge, some more trees around the area where they were before, and then sort of flattened out this area as sort of almost a natural beachscape, although it wouldn't really be used by anyone, but I think that area looks a lot nicer now. And if we take a look at our trains, we can see they're running almost completely full now, and based on the finances of the last period, they should definitely be making us tons of money. So let's just watch this one as it comes into the station in Jackson and see how much money one trip gets us. So here it comes, and one trip of an almost full train will get us about $2.3 million per trip, which I believe pretty much covers the entire running cost of one period in just that single trip. So I'm very happy with that. I think everything's going to be running pretty smoothly from here. Just checking on the other trains real quick. They're all running about half full at the moment, but I'm sure once demand builds up here in Birmingham, as the city now begins to expand, we should see many more people starting to come in and out of the area. Now that is pretty much going to be all that we're going to do in this video, so if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.